technology advancement. Technology is wider as per perspective. When we go to agriculture, we can also utilize technology. Industry, trade, technology. Telecommunication, it is where we are experiencing the highest technology required. And again, when we look at the plan of the government, which majorly would have been to create job opportunities for whosoever is unemployed, both informal employment and formal employment. But industrial base could be the way to go. Once again, Dr. Kenneth, you can expound on that, and we share our experience and maybe the direction which Uganda should take to promise our young generation and every citizen a better future.
Yeah, thank you so much once again, Doctor. I was trying to expound on my point about the agro-processing industries. You talked about the nature of industry that we want to see and the technology that we want to see. So I was providing some statistics that more than 70% are in farming, in agriculture, though it is peasantry. So at least you can imagine that if you have majority of the people who are employed in this sector, they are well equipped, it would mean that the problem of unemployment is going to reduce. If it reduces, then these people can get market. When the industries are available and they are using the inputs from agricultural sector, then there will be already market. And then when these industries can produce, they can add value, then this value can also be sold either domestically or even abroad, and then the revenues can rise. So I was trying to compare the exports, what Uganda, for example, is exporting and what it is importing. When you compare the imports vis-a-vis the exports, you can see that the trade balance is negative. How? We do much of the imports. We import more. Okay, of course, and when you're importing more, we import manufactured goods. Okay, for example, a computer. We are now in technology, using technology. A computer maybe can say on average can be 2 million. Okay, an average computer can be 2 million. How many kilograms of coffee do I need to sell in order to raise the amount of money to buy a computer? In the agricultural sector, Ugandans, you will realize that we normally sell or sell to the international markets some output, which is much of the output is not processed, no value addition. I was giving you an example of a kilogram, for example, a kilogram of coffee in my village can be about 1,500. That's on the higher side. But if this coffee was to be processed and maybe I buy a final product like Nescafe, you may find that what I bought 1,500, when I'm buying, maybe again from what foreigners do, they just come, buy raw coffee at a raw price, go add value, and remember when they have taken it, of course we have lost jobs, okay, and we have lost income along that line of business. So they add value, maybe add value, process this coffee, then bring it back. You wouldn't expect that in Uganda today we would be importing agricultural products.
One question, has the government done enough to improve the industrial base and technology? Has the government done enough?
The government has not done enough. Our MP here, Honorable, I think will know, even when he's a member of parliament, when he's a member of cabinet, he will really accept surely that government has not done enough. And a lot needs to be done.
Thank you. Let's go to Honorable, because we're expecting to hear from that. Kigezi, very much known for a number of minerals there, and there is nothing that is either preparing them to go into industrial growth. There is also other programs which are across the country, including tea growing, which I think should have taken a higher stage in Kigezi, but still struggling. Industrial research, a lot has been invested in it, the industrial research, and which you are aware about. But we don't look at something coming out better. Please, back to you, sir.
You see, the irony of this issue is that we all talk about the 68% who are employed in agriculture. But you put it right, these are subsistence producers.
Producers, yes, please.
Their contribution to the economy is just 24% of the GDP. So meaning they are just contributing little. But those who are in the industrial sector, who are 27%, they are producing 42, about there, going to 50 percent of the economy, of the GDP, meaning that the agricultural sector is just producing for consumption, or it is just producing for the raw value crops where they are not industrializing. So, and this industrial sector is the key driver of our industrial growth. So if we are to grow economically, then that means we need to invest into the agriculture, into the industrial sector. And as a country, we need to invest into agro-industrialization, where we have a supply of these agro products. So we therefore must take deliberate investment plan to invest into agro-processing.
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 Yes, you talked about also the private sector.
Of course, yes. So
yes.
We must make a deliberate plan to provide finance for the private sector. And when we make that finance available, it must be affordable. And that's why I was calling for even the state intervention. You don't leave this role to the private sector alone. Remember, the private sector may not be competent enough to develop that. They may not have enough strength and muscle to develop that industrialization agenda. You are talking of Kigezi. When you talk of Kigezi, which is...
We also talk about Acholi.
Every hill of Kigezi has a spot of iron ore. If we are talking about the iron ore, steel industry, it is another boost into its industrial development. So, no individual in Uganda, even in East Africa, may have the capacity to develop that industry, the steel sector. When you talk about steel sector in Uganda now, you talk about this roofing, maybe. But what is roofing doing? Roofing is importing more or less finished products from China and just doing corrugation of iron sheets, add paint on iron.
1 second, Honorable. One second.
So, is roofing using our iron ore? No.
1 second.
Yes.
1 second.
Yes,
Yes, very much. It leaves us with a question of debate and unanswered questions. Where in Kigezi, I'm using it as an example across the country, we export these investors from Tanzania. They come and export the hardcore iron ore, and they take it for finished products, of course, for steel and so forth in Tanzania. What is that they are able to do that Uganda cannot do?
Just don't even talk about that.
It is important.
Just please, excuse me, let me give you knowledge. Is the steel that we are using in Uganda coming from Tanzania? It's coming from even China. Is the steel that we are using in our dams coming from Uganda? No, it's coming from China. Is the steel that we are using, for example, we are talking about, the other day we were talking about, we are developing there's a development on the boat building. Are those iron steel plates coming from Uganda? No. Are they coming from East Africa? No. We do not even have an iron or a steel factory within East Africa that is competent enough to provide East Afrikaners with steel. What we are having and what we are seeing that is coming from Kenya, that may be Tanzania, is this recycled, where they are uprooting our railway lines, taking it to Tanzania, taking it to Kenya, mixing it with our iron ore bit, and then they come with substandard iron bars, where you see our building collapsing. So what do we need to do? We need to make a proactive measure. It should not even be about, Uganda alone. It can be an East African agenda. It can be an African agenda. Because when we talk of Africa, the industries that we have, we have Dangote, who is producing cement, and based in Nigeria, trying to come in East Africa. But he could not come even in East Africa because of the corruption and kickbacks. So one of the other impediments that we are having in the continent, in the region, East Africa, in our country, are those corruption tendencies of kickbacks, where you have the investors who want to invest in this country, but they say, aha, mfunira what will be my share in that factory? Story goes that even Dangote wanted to come in Uganda, even in Kenya. What happened? We should have the capacity to have the African continent developed by oil.
Of course, we have also the oil industry.
We must solve this issue of corruption. We must solve the issue of good governance.
Thank you so much.
We must solve the issue of illicit frauds of capital. If we are talking about gold, we have gold in Karamoja. How much taxation? How much taxes are we getting from the gold coming from Karamoja?
We'll be coming back to you.
How much is coming from the minerals?
Yes, sir.
Our mineral waves, we are one of the countries that is most blessed by the mineral waves.
With the natural resources.
How much are we getting out of this? You are talking about that exporting iron ore. Does it make sense, really? Can't we have our own smelting plant here?
That's a challenge.
When we have East African steel millers, who is this gentleman, this from Ginger, Abidaram, I know his company, built a fantastic, the biggest steel and smelting kind of industry in the Eastern Central region. Did we support him as a country? As a country. As a government. I remember he was almost sold, auctioned out. Why? Because he could not get the appropriate capital. Because as a state, what should we have done? Go in and invest and be a core investor. That is why we are talking about, that's why you are seeing what Munyonyo is. It's because government has invested here, there, together with Mr. Sudhir.
But that's the private,
I want to tell you,
private-public partnership,
the biggest
right?
investor in Munyonyo is the government.
Public-private sector partnership, yes.
It is a PPP.
Okay, thank you so much, Honorable.
PPPs, public-private
partners, exactly.
That are meaningful.
Thank you.
Can we have the state doing its role? Can we identify Ugandans that can do the work and we co-invest with them, and over the period of time government divests itself and leaves these investors there, and in so doing you will be having billionaires in dollars in Uganda. As of now we don't have none. The richest man, who is Sudhir, he's just trying to get there, to be a billionaire in dollars.
You're reminding me of some of the investors here in Uganda, those who are either part of the corruption, and they were being encouraged at least to invest here. Those who steal the money, like they shouldn't shout on them very much, so that they should, so they don't run away. Don't disrupt my point. So they don't run away and invest here. But unfortunately, what I want to state is, unfortunately, even those whom we don't encourage to have swindled government funds, they have rarely taken keen interest to invest in their areas. You find someone is a minister, either coming from Koboko, and either the Minister of Investment, but which investment is there for, as a model?
Once you are a local, you are frustrated.
Doctor, you're welcome for some 3 minutes. Give us your view as we are drawing towards because at the end of our discussion.
I was enjoying Honorable Banyanzachi's discussion.
It was a rich one.
But I would, Banyanzachi, I think, has seen more days than I have seen on Earth. But there are things which I need some more time to understand.
I've seen more books.
So, Honorable, and Dr. George, when you read the history of in development economics, they tell you that in the 1970s, 1960s and 70s, Uganda was at the level of these East Asian tigers.
Yes.
At the level of development.
Exactly.
Even the level of GDP were the same rate of growth, employment levels, or even unemployment levels, production. We were even better with better than some countries. But along the way, when it came to these years later, we were, when you draw the curve, ours moved down, the other countries were able to move up. Today, when you look at the contribution, for example, of the industrial sector to GDP, it stands at 27.4%. This is by Uganda Investment Authority. So you can see that still the industries contributes less to GDP. Industry contributes less to GDP.
Yes.
So the question is, for government, for example, to keep maybe financing financing all these economic activities? Where is the money going to come from? Taxes, we know that we have a small tax base because a large sector is of informal nature.
Doctor, that 27% contributes about 40-something% to the GDP.
Yes, but you can see that it is really still
Low.
not,
Still low.
it is still low.
Still
True. So when you go to the policy issues, when Ugandans are explaining, when anybody is explaining policies, they are so good. You can really see that we are getting there.
On paper.
We have the best national industrial policy, okay? It is even recent, 2020. It talks about industrialization, how Uganda can move, how we can create employment, how we can create jobs, create wealth. This is the man of operation wealth creation.
Yes.
Right? We have the national trade policy, how Uganda can produce goods
Export
and then
trade.
trade domestically within and then outside the international market, and we generate foreign revenues
Create market.
and you get markets and you know and move. There is another good policy about the national strategy for private sector development. The World Bank and IMF are recommending most of these countries to go private, okay? But when you go to the private sector, it is not as easy as you take it to be. When I have taken time to go to downtown in Chikubo here, you will discover that even the people are running out of the private sector because the cost of doing business is high. You go to buildings in town, landlords are asking rent in dollars. You go to most of these arcades, the shops are empty. When you go to an arcade and find the building is empty, don't say maybe
There are many
the economy has
there are
grown.
many closed shops.
Some many have gone out
Many
of
them
business.
are sharing just a share of.
It is many are sharing a share of the cost of doing a business. Imagine every day you need to transport to go to town. You have all these costs. You need to go back, but you have not made this money in the town. So we have good policies. For example, of buy Uganda, build Uganda, right? But is it taking us to where we are going? We have national export development strategy. What are we exporting to the market? The other day we are trying to export
eggs and milk.
Eggs and milk across our neighbors. They say you take your things back. Okay,
They were substandard.
They are of substandard, and you can imagine still exporting goods in their raw form and being, brought right from.
So what is your last word that you are advising the government to make a quick intervention so that we can
for
move
example,
forward?
now Uganda now would be really processing and adding value, and this is the word which even the president has always talked about. Value addition. But are we adding value? We are not adding value.
Why?
Why? Because of the constraints like corruption you are talking about.
Right.
Okay.
Poor implementation.
So implementation is
policies.
not. Things are not working.
High cost of
When
finance.
high cost of financing. Okay. You have seen some banks. The cost of borrowing is high.
It is high.
Interest rates are high. It is difficult to do business, and you add value if you're in farming, agriculture.
I could be very happy if I found Honorable Nyanzachi having an iron ore industry in Kabale. I would be very happy.
This man would be having an industry in Rwanda, employing a number of people. Maybe he should tell us whether he has one.
No, there's one. There's one who's telling us about one also. We're waiting for industry. Honorable, thank you. I hope that was the last word you can say. You can conclude with what you've said, I believe. And then we continue with you as you give your last word. We are about to close the program.
Okay, thank you so much. My conclusion is that our leadership, right from the start, not only we are not talking about these political leaders as head of state or what, but even leadership begins with an individual. At a family level, at LC1 level, at a parish level.
We should see industry at a family level. We should see industry at a village level.
It begins with you. It begins with me.
Yes, that's
We
great.
change our mindsets. We inform our people out there. We sensitize. We give them information that they can get out of poverty, contribute to industry, contribute to agriculture, and then develop.
Thank you. Honorable, one word as we conclude our program.
We need to do more.
We need to
You
do
have
more.
heard how the man who have seen more books than I've read
Yes.
is telling us the policies that he enlisted. Are we implementing them? No. It's about siasa, propaganda.
Propaganda. It should end. We want to have
We
a
should
better
have
Uganda.
meaningful interventions
Meaningful interventions.
by the state.
Yes.
For me, well, that peasant we are talking about, like we have talked about the parish development model. I was reading today, the other day, yesterday,
Yes.
where we say the parish development model is and you are giving 1 million per PZ. What will 1 million per PZ?
Okay, a lot is desired to be done. Thank you.
More. We need to encourage production.
Production, yes.
Level.
Yes.
We need to reduce on administrative costs, wasteful expenditure that is at the central government level. And we put this money into the production sector.
Into the production sector.
Yes, we need to reduce on our administrative sectors. We need to reduce on the parliament. It's too big. We need to reduce on the cabinet. It's too huge.
Those are good policy recommendations.
We need to reduce on these administration centers. We need to reduce on this kind of center and put that money into
the
this
industrial and the technology base.
Exactly.
Industrial and technology base.
What we are talking about in research, there is no research here. Look at how much money. Look, you go and do your research and tell me how much has been given to National Agricultural Research Organization.
Thank you, Honorable. You wanted to say...
I'm an academician, okay. So I wanted to make something about research.
Yes. So how much have we put in industrial research?
In universities?
When you talk about industrial research, you are only talking about Professor Kwesiga. End of the story.
Let's see one
in universities, we make research.
Just 1 second.
We do research.
1 second. How much have we invested in that?
Let's hear his submission.
We do research, come out with the policy recommendations, but the government and the policy implementers do not attend to us. They are in the library, kept there.
Okay, we are happy.
You are agreeing with me.
Thank you so much, Honorable. Thank you, Dr. Kenneth. Thank you, Honorable Anyezachi. We'll be happy to have you again. This has been a very powerful program. And as we conclude, we continue to encourage the population be part of the production from the family level to village level to the national level. With that, with the deliberate move both by us, citizens, and the country to demand what we believe can help us come out of unemployment. We meet next time. Good evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Smart 24, driving business. Smart 24, driving business.
Market economy. You must do your homework. You must have a business plan. You must do research. Find what niche are you coming. If it's not a niche, who are you coming to give service? Are you coming just to give low price? Or are you coming to, every business must be developed on the basis of value that you're going to give. It's business is created on the paradigm of fair exchange. Is that you have a need and then I have a solution for you. I actually come as a company. When I set up a company, I ask here a question: who helps the other? Who helps the other? It is me who has come with a solution to your need, who is helping you. It's not you helping me to be here. So as providers and investors, we come to resolve issues. So what should they consider? Let them see where people's needs are. There is history in this country. There's at one time when we had only one player in the telecom sector, Uganda Posts and Telecommunication. Then we had Celtel. Then we had MTN. Now we have 22. So, and all those 22 are doing something for the population. Some are niched, some are very visible, like you can see MTN and Airtel. So what should they consider? We have a very good market here, by the way. I think on the last report Q3 from UCC, we have hit 22 million unique subscribers on a digital phone, on a smartphone. That's a milestone. That's about 52% internet penetration. It comes from the 40s. Now we are on the upper 50s. We are on the lower 50s. It's a milestone for the country. So, and what does that show? It shows all the good things. If more than 50% of your population is digital, meaning that they have the mind to choose who is giving a good deal. So I say the market is growing. There is still more to do. We are 44 million. We have 22 million. There is still a market to cover. There are still people to serve. So if you're coming, please, as the chairman to the Internet Service Providers Association, we don't want to see our members fail. The reason I'm really here is that we want the garden to be fertile for everybody to exist. Yes.
Smart 24, driving business.
Every new day brings new opportunities for you to conquer the business world.
Start your day with the show that drives your business.
Be the first to know the latest prices around town, the latest business information around the country and the world.
We bring you in-depth analysis with exclusive interviews from your key players.
And of course, wouldn't you want that for your morning?